and have had me going around to meet with people. And they just commissioned a screenwriter, and they just got the script delivered last week. And I should tell you that if nothing else comes of this, so first of all, Hollywood, they say, is the only town where you can die of sheer encouragement, right? But if nothing else comes of this, and I doubt that anything ever really will, but at least I'll get material for a sequel. I have an agent who calls up, and when he calls up, I can smell the cigar smoke coming through the phone. He's my new Hollywood agent. And you know, if you have an agent, anybody who writes a screenplay, your Hollywood agent, you know, heaven forbid that they should actually touch the phone themselves. It's always their secretary calling. I have Mr. Gottler on the line for Joel Van Izzy. Will Joel Van Izzy accept the call? I always wait. Okay, yeah, I will. At one time they called up and said, I have Mr. Gottler on the line for Joel Van Izzy. Will Joel Van Izzy accept the call? I said, okay. She said, sorry, he's not here now. And I learned my first lesson in Hollywood, which is get better with names and faces, right? My wife's good at it. Tali, she can just walk to a People magazine, put her hand on it, and she knows who's getting married, who's getting divorced, who's doing, right? I can't remember any of that stuff. And so I went down to pitch this movie at Columbia, Sony, which is where Sid works. He has an office there. So I was so excited. First I met with my agent, and he says, oh, yeah, we'll get this one, or maybe that one, or this one, and these names like flying right over my head, right? And then I rush back across town to go, because I don't want to be late for my pitch. There's LA traffic, and I'm going to go meet the president of Sony Studios, who, by the way, is 12 years old. And don't ask me, I still has pimples on his face, you know? So I go in, but I'm waiting in the parking lot to go meet for this big meeting. I'm going to go pitch my movie, like you hear about, right? And I'm sitting in the parking lot, but there's supposed to be some valet to take my car, and there's no valet. Like, what do I do with my car? Just leave it here, the key. And this old man walks up to me and says, I'll take your car. I said, great, what did you do with it? He said, I don't know, I'll sell it. He looked at it, he said, maybe I'll get $50 for it. I said, $50 for this? I said, that's not good. I said, look, there's this whole box of keys there. I think we could get 100 for the Porsche. He said, yeah, 75 for the Corvette. And we start just planning a used car business right there in the parking lot. And finally he says to me, what are you doing here? I said, oh, it's exciting. I'm going to go pitch a movie. I'm going to meet with the president of the studio. I'm going to meet with this guy, Sid, the producer. He said, when you see Sid, tell him I said hello. I said, okay, and your name is? He said, Mel. I said, and he'll know Mel? He said, he'll know Mel. I said, Mel. I said, it's not Gibson, is it? He said, no, you little pisher. It's Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks. And I said, you're Mel Brooks. He said, I know I'm Mel Brooks. How come you don't know that? I'm actually very famous. People all over the world know me, but not you, little pisher. And that second, I realized three things. One, I had reached the age where being called a little pisher was a compliment. Two, I was a complete fool. This was Mel Brooks. I've known him since before I was born, right? He's like 2,000 years old, you know, I know that. And number three, I remembered a story. I said, Mr. Brooks, I know a story about you. He said, yeah, I like stories. I said, me too. I was telling stories once at a kid's bar mitzvah, and he was sharing his earliest memory was that his uncle was a movie maker making a movie with you. So, what happened? His uncle walked out of the office, and you took to him as a little baby when he was like a year and a half old, and you put him in a wastebasket. Then when the uncle came back, you said, hey, how come you're throwing away perfectly good babies here? And Mel Brooks, this funny man, got this look on his face and said, you know, I remember that. But what was the name of that kid? And I said, I don't know. I'm not good with names. He said, so tell me your names, Mr. Storyteller, so I will not look like a complete schlemiel next time I meet you. So I made friends with Mel Brooks. It was very nice. Exactly what comes of the movie? I don't know. They'll read the script. They'll go here. They'll go there. I should say that like a year after that, I was doing a performance, and one of the things when you write a book is you go on tour, everyone you've ever known sort of comes out of the woodwork. I'm like signing books in Austin, Texas, and I look up, and she says, make it for Karen. And I say, Karen? And there's a girlfriend I hadn't seen for 20 years who had broken my heart 20 years ago in a street in Israel, and I was just flabbergasted. Cousins I knew showed up. So somebody stands up, this man stands up and says, hi. Question? Yeah. Do you know me? I said, I don't know. He said, you told stories at my bar mitzvah. I said, you're the kid with the Mel Brooks in the trash can. What's your name? He said, Aaron. I said, thank you. Yes, I do know you. So next time I see Mel Brooks, I will say, you are Mel Brooks. He is Aaron. I am Joel Ben Izzy. So there. Let me take another question, maybe wrap things up with a story, a couple question or two more. Yeah?
What is your kid's story? What is their memory of this time?
Oh, that's a good question. She asked, what's my kid's story? What's their memory of this time? You know, I was just thinking about this the other day because Michaela, who was 2 at the time, really just saw it as me goofing around. You know. That works perfectly for a 2-year-old, you know? Elijah, who has a very, very sweet heart, I think there's a little place of sadness in there that he remembers this, you know, that I think there was a little crack in his world. And we get little cracks in life. You know, life is full of little cracks, but there's a little bit of sadness, I think, that he remembers. But I mean, he goes on, he does all sorts of things. He's not, you know, we take our pain and our sadness and we turn it into something beautiful. It's like the king with the diamond. This beautiful diamond he has, it's his pride and joy. And one day, you know, he looks at it and he sees this scratch. And he doesn't know what to do. So he calls in his palace jewelers and they say, if we get rid of the scratch, we'd have to cut the diamond. We'd have to make it into 3 or 4 little diamonds. He said, no, I don't want to. And so he calls in, he just, any jeweler, he lets them come and see what he can do. And one says, I can fix it. I can't fix it, but I can do something with it. He said, well, do something. He said, give me three days. He sits alone in a room. When he comes back with a diamond, the king says, is the scratch gone? He says, no. Look. And now on the side, the scratch is still there, but at its tip is a rose. It has become the stem of this rose, this beautiful, delicately carved rose that he made. You know, this is what we do with our pain. So I think there's a little bit of that in Elijah. I will say the sort of the notoriety that's come with it has been a little difficult for them because, you know, it's like, oh, their daddy's yabbering with somebody again, you know. So, but they do carry it. Yeah, another question there.
We know what happened in the book to your other hat when you were 20. Tell us about the hat you had tonight.
Oh, this hat? You know, after a time, I decided I needed a new hat. And the other one had always been gray. And I thought, you know, it's time for a switch. I'm going to go for brown. And the truth is, this hat has no story to it yet, really. I walked into the hat shop in Berkeley. I looked around. I said, that one. That one's nice. I like it. So sometimes the story comes first. Sometimes it comes later. I have no doubt there will someday be a story about this hat. But this one, for now, is kind of like a blank page on my head, you know? Let me take another question, and I'll wrap things up maybe with a little story. Yes?
Tell us another story about Helm or Helm.
Oh, Helm. Oh, I love Helm stories. Okay, are we okay for time? I got to tell you about Helm. Helm, and you know, I couldn't quite clarify how to pronounce it. You can't just tell one, but I'll tell a few. And if you're interested, by the way, the CDs upstairs, some of them have Helm stories on them, and then they have lots of stories, the beggar, the Irish king with the riddles, and the Be Polite story, and the coin story, and then there are lots of stories from all over. Helm, just to remind you, is that place where people are so foolish that